Right, okay, so what's on the docket for today? Whoa, I mean, okay, we haven't discussed this in a while. Hey guys, MasakoX here. Now back in August of last year, we touched upon a particular idea about a certain fusion staying together instead of coming apart. From the end of Z to the beginning of Super, we discussed the possibility of what might have happened had the Potara fusion Vegito stayed fused. The fusion was permanent. As in, there were no time limits, no bad air, no retcons, they were stuck. But wait, Masako, you pretty much covered everything going into Super, or at least well into Super. They get Super Saiyan Blue, they kill Frieza. I mean, what else is there to discuss? Well, back then we hadn't quite finished Dragon Ball Super, and the Tournament of Power was relatively fresh in our minds. Oh, those were the days. We also didn't discuss what might have happened after the likes of Resurrection F, and when Super got into its stride and wasn't just a bunch of movie rehashes. Fresh off the back of finding out that Potara fusion is indeed reversible, Vegito is left utterly conflicted. He had gotten used to the prospect of them being permanently together. Now he's having to process the reality of being able to actually become two people again. Goku and Vegeta would effectively be revived again. I mean, yeah, they kind of gotten used to each other, at least this whole new entity has. But one thing's for sure, it would make the whole living arrangement situation far less complicated. They wouldn't have to keep flitting between Capsule Corp and Mount Paozu all the time. I mean, yeah, instant transmission is a thing, but come on, it's still kind of awkward. But there are a couple of things that Vegito needs to think about first before he would actually ask to defuse. The first being, would all the powers that they've accumulated over the last few years be transferable to Goku and Vegeta? Because if it's not, then it might actually leave the Earth in great danger. Would Goku and Vegeta have to regain these powers? He doesn't know. Not only that, but then there's Beerus to consider. The only reason that Beerus didn't destroy the planet Earth in this timeline is because he found Vegito a curious oddity, something that kept him entertained, and he'd had to resort to full power for the first time in millions of years. And if Vegeto's suddenly not there anymore, and in his place are two weaker Saiyans who can't even go Super Saiyan God, then who's to say that the cat might not just blow up Earth out of frustration? Because remember, this is still in the point of the story where Beerus is sort of an enigma, you can't really read him. I mean, you still can't kind of read him even at the end of Super, but at least then, you kind of have an idea that he sort of likes our protagonists. Here, it's still up in the air. So we resume the story with Vegito training on Beerus' planet and Champa arriving to then have his daily argument with his brother. Because these two argue, the universe is about to be destroyed because of their little tit-for-tat. But then Vados tries to step in as well as Whis, and then Vegito steps in with his idea for a tournament, because I think that whole notion would still happen. Those two Saiyans want to fight, and Goku would override in this situation, or at least the essence of Goku would. We then go on to the whole preparation for the Universe 6 tournament, and I think there is one key change between this story and the original story, and that is the fact that there is an open spot. Who does that go to? I think it actually might be Gohan. Gohan, Masako? Why him? He's so much weaker now at this point in the story, and he's got that conference, remember? He would say no to the fact he gets to talk to loads of scientists. Why would he then snub it? Well, I don't think he actually has much of a choice in the matter, because going off the whole Resurrection F arc, Gohan was determined to make himself stronger so he could protect his family. And when he actually met Goku and Vegeta when they were scouting for members, he wanted to, but then, oh no, I got the conference. Goku was like, okay, whatever. And Vegeta really wanted to have him because he had the most potential. And I think this mishmash of personalities with Vegito would mean that Vegeta would still want to test Gohan, but in this point, there's no one to stop him. And this is when Vegeta would override the being and would say, oh no you don't, I don't care about this kind of conference, you are coming to train with us. And besides, there's no real other person that could really step up to the plate as far as they know, because they're responsible in picking people. The boys are far too young and not disciplined, and even if they did the fusion via the fusion dance, the fact that it has a time limit means that there is no guarantee they will be able to actually do more than just one fight, because they have to wait 2 hours until they can fuse again, and yeah, it's just so much faff. And then, of course, there's no Yamcha because he's retired, so they can't resort to the strongest fighter there is out there. No, not Yamcha! Gohan is left feeling really unsure about this. He turns to Piccolo for advice, but Piccolo's just letting him just take the fall. But this is when Goku steps back in for Vegito and just says, look, You got to at least try. You got to at least try and see what you can do at this point. This is the moment when he needs to prove, Gohan needs to prove, that he is serious about getting stronger and actually protecting his family. Put his money where his mouth is. After seeing that Vegeto's not going to be backing down from this, Gohan has to go and make a couple of calls, rearrange his schedule, and lo and behold, hey, I guess I can make it after all. In fact, this is where Vegito actually requests something, not of Gohan immediately, but of Piccolo, seeing as Piccolo is Gohan's mentor right now. Whether he can actually take Gohan into the Room of Spirit and Time with him. I think Vegito is thinking, if they were to defuse, they need to make sure that there are as many people that are strong enough to actually defend Earth as they can get. Gohan needs a little bit of training up, and if he can do that inside the Room of Spirit and Time rather quickly, Vegito would feel a lot more comfortable if the time came they decided to break apart. Piccolo is left unsure whether his mental attitude can actually be up to the task. But this is when Gohan, now resolute and now free of his schedule, he managed to cancel his 1 o'clock, is ready to do it. And I think he would be, because he remembers what the Room of Spirit and Time was like. He had to do it as a kid. He was there with his father, it worked out fine. Now that he's a bit more mature and a bit more level-headed, and he can actually plan for it instead of having to just go in there suddenly, he should be able to be up to the challenge. He'd be able to do so much research in such a short space of time, at least in the real world, you know, a year, a day. Think of all the research! With books and reading material in hand, Gohan and Vegito head into the Room of Spirit and Time to focus on their training, not coming out until Vegito deems it ready, or until the actual tournament happens, whichever comes first. Dende's version of the room doesn't have that whole 2-day limit in their lifetime, so they can pretty much stay in there as long as they want. Gone is the days of peril. Inside the room, I think this is when Gohan manages to strike the good work-life balance that he only just managed to grasp in the Tournament of Power arc of the original Super. During the day, he'd be training with Vegito, as well as making sure that he's got plenty of breaks, and then at night, he'd be focusing on studying, whereas Vegito would either continue to train with himself, or he'd be just sleeping. Or knowing that these are two Saiyans, he might be eating as well. When the time comes to emerge from the room, Gohan and Vegito step out with beards flowing in the breeze. Quite frankly, Gohan is just happy to see Videl and Pan after 3 years. And one byproduct of all of this, the fact that Gohan was there, meant that Vegito had to take showers, because Gohan wasn't going to be putting up with that stink while he was studying, so there's no smell, thankfully. Piccolo can immediately sense that Gohan looks way more assured than he was when he went in, as well as a lot stronger, so he feels a bit calmer about Vegito's decision. But there's no time to dwell on this, because Beerus is ready to take everybody to the Nameless Planet and the Universe 6 tournament. They pick up Monaka along the way, nipples and all, and they are now amazed by the huge size of the Dragon Balls, the Super Dragon Balls, them the size of a planet. Internally, Vegito's thinking, would these Dragon Balls be strong enough to actually defuse them? Are these the balls that Beerus was talking about? His answer is actually a lot easier than he thought he was, because then he finds out about Shin and Kibito. They were able to defuse just using regular Dragon Balls, and that makes things immediately way more easier. Vegito's just like, huh, how about that? But realistically, there's not much time to think because they got a tournament to actually take part in. But first, there is the written exam. Da, da, da. However, Gohan is ready to actually do this because he finds this all quite fascinating. But at the end of it, he is shocked. Oh no, I guess I trained way too much than I thought. I only got a 95! I mean, still, it's the highest number out of anyone out there. Boo still falls asleep. Great. What about Kaba? Ah, yes. Kaba still introduces himself to Vegito, recognizing him as a Saiyan. And this time, I think Vegito would actually take a shining to the kid instead of being aloof like Vegeta was. He'd be very keen to see another Saiyan from another universe. They talk about Universe 6 Sadala, how it's still there because Vegeta's fully aware of that, or at least the Vegeta part of Vegito. And they are keen to meet each other in the ring, as well as afterwards, that they can learn a little more about Saiyan heritage in different universes, especially since Saiyans thrived there. But the first fight is up against nobody's favorite Universe 6 fighter, Butamo. And who's going to be the first one up? It's going to be Gohan. Vegito pats Gohan on the back and saying that this big yellow bear would be the perfect warm-up exercise for things to come. The fight begins, and Gohan, thanks to his quick wits and his logic, is able to find out about Butamo's quirk, about, punching him, but it goes to a different dimension, and manages to get the better of Butamo, just knocking him over, and then just dragging him out of the ring, chucking him out. Quick elimination. Not really much of a challenge for Gohan, at least not physically. Mentally though, Next up is Frost, and Gohan's now starting to get into the whole swing of things. Not only that, but he's also quick to get his revenge on someone who looks like Frieza. All the stuff that Frieza embarrassed him not that long ago. You know, the whole, shooting at his glue box. Gohan still remembers the pain, so he wants to take it out on someone who looks like Frieza. The fight begins with Gohan doing something rather brash. Instead of conserving his energy, he immediately powers up to his ultimate form, the bang is down, and he begins to whomp on Frost. This catches Frost off guard, and he immediately knows that he is overwhelmed. He's going to have to use that form that he really shouldn't use because he almost killed a person with it. He immediately jumps to his final form, and this is when Gohan stumbles a little bit, because that final form Frieza is the one that did so much damage to him, and that is the opening that Frost is going to take. Frost uses his poison punch, and this knocks Gohan out of the ring and eliminated. He doesn't know what happened. He was doing so well, he had all of his power, he wasn't tired, but then just suddenly was. He doesn't get it. Piccolo then tries his luck, but then is hit with the same affliction, and then they find out the whole about the poison dart thing, he gets disqualified, but then Vegito immediately says, no, I want to fight this guy, so he gets reinstated. Piccolo steps aside, so that means Vegito can get his revenge. The Vegeta part of Vegito is more than happy to do the job really quickly, one punch and it's done. Bye-bye, Frost. Then we get to Vegetto's fight, and that fight is pretty much the same as it was in the original, only it takes a little less time to best the robot because, of the strength difference. And also, Vegito is more likely, thanks to Goku's playfulness, to find out about the whole insult quirk. Yeah, Vegito's a lot more sassy. He's more than willing to do that kind of thing. Then we get Kaba, and this fight goes about the same as it was in the original, only that Vegito is a little softer on the Saiyan. Instead of just being that angry like Vegeta was, he's more encouraging Kaba to find out about Super Saiyan, encouraging him to discover his full potential, being a little bit more softly thanks to Goku's presence. In the end though, Vegeta still makes his presence clear, and the whole Super Saiyan Blue one punch ends the fight. And this is when Kaba is more determined to get that power, and Vegito is more than happy to take him on as a student. Now we're on to the main event, Hit. Now that Vegeto's actually showcased a hint of Super Saiyan Blue power, this has gotten the assassin even more interested than he was in the original story. The fight begins, however, with Vegito in his base form trying to square up and scale up what Hit's power is like, and is immediately overwhelmed of the time skip power. And this is kind of like how Goku handled it, because Goku quickly adapting to things, this gives Vegito an edge over Vegeta alone. He begins to acclimate to Hit's time skills, finding out what the time difference is, immediately going on the offensive and putting Hit on the back foot. And once Blue comes in, it's even more one-sided, with Hit having to think quickly, what is he gonna do? He then starts to come alive, his potential is unlocked, he starts to increase the time skip difference, going from 1/10 of a second to 2/10 to 3/10 to 1/2 a second. This is getting him riled up for the first time in centuries. This is when he decides to whip out a little party trick that Goku lent him. Kaioken. Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken Vegito. Oh yeah. Because the part of Goku that's thinking, surprise, Goku's thinking, is that Vegito's body is a lot more integral and will be less likely to rip apart if Kaioken was used at Super Saiyan Blue level, so it's worth a try. No matter how fast he increases his time skip, now to a full second, it's not enough to beat Vegito fully, and once Kaioken times 10 is used to finish the job, it's all but over. Vegito squarely wins, unlike the draw from last time. But there is a side effect. Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10, something of which the Potara's never had to deal with before, has actually taken its toll on the earrings. Once the fight is done and Vegeto's declared a winner, he starts to feel really strange. Something's up, like he's being torn apart. No, surely, he was able to do the Kaioken. It should be fine. What's up? And then, without warning, the earrings shatter and Vegito defuses. And I think that's where we'll leave things for right now. So it turns out that despite the permanence that was talked up about Vegito, if you use too much power, like Super Saiyan Blue Kaioken times 10, it's gonna have some effect on the earrings. After years of constant powering up and down, so many cycles, it's gonna take its toll on something that is not really meant to be used for that kind of thing. And it seems like even though Vegito was having some misgivings about remaining fused, it turns out he's had his mind made up for him. Going forward though, it poses a question. Whether Goku and Vegeta remain defused, or they choose to refuse again in the future with another set of Potara. One thing's for sure, Beerus is looking horrified, and now really saddened because he can't sense his power anymore, and who knows what he might do in this next part. So what do you guys think? Do you like the twist I put there? Do you think Vegito was handled well in this part? Leave a comment below, and let's get this discussion going. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Until the next one, be sure to like and subscribe. Catch you later!